Hi everyone, welcome in. We are about to start this session, so grab everything that you need. This workshop is how to create the perfect playlist. One of my favorite topics ever. So I'm super excited if you are sharing classes, parties, workshops, any kind of movement or hoop gathering event happening. This workshop is definitely for you. You will notice if you are joining me live right now that there is a chat box, and we're going to be using that chat box. This is an interactive workshop. So jump in there now if you're online and say hi. And if you're watching the recording of this, then you can use your journal as your chat box. You can write down and respond and stay connected in any way. So if you're here with me now, hi everyone, it is Deanne Love here. I'm super excited to be sharing this workshop. Let me know where you're from, what part of the planet you are joining us from, and we will get started. Hello, hey Judith, welcome. So just to make sure that you're in the right place, yes, this workshop is all about creating the perfect playlist for your classes, parties, and workshops. And I am Deanne Love. You might know me as your hoop teacher, or perhaps we have worked together in some way, created something fabulous. Welcome. So before we get started, please make sure that you've switched off all of your distractions and that you're ready for an interactive workshop. Hi, Kathy, welcome from Pennsylvania. I have focus on my phone. Does anyone else do that? It's like, it's the perfect little switch. Focus. I need to focus. It's not always easy. So we have to make sure that distractions are away from us. Grab whatever you need. Welcome in Mindy, Judith, Tiffany from all around the planet. Western Australia. Hey, we're on the other side of the island. If you have questions about creating these playlists after the workshop, there'll be a little space. And if you have questions about Hoop Love Coach training, which is starting on the 4th of July, then please keep those for a moment, because there will be an open question time where you can share. Hey, Carla, welcome in. So letting us know what part of the world that you are from: Pennsylvania, Colorado, Asheville, all over. Also make sure that you have your journal, a journal or something that you can write on. Perhaps you write on your phone. I can't write on my phone because then I get distracted. That's just how my brain works. So for me, it's this beautiful physical flow. And let us know if you can, just for a moment while we're waiting for some other incredible humans to pop in. Why are you coming to this workshop? Why is this important? Hey, Julia from Wagga Wagga in Australia. Yes. What brings you here? Why do you want to know about creating playlists for your workshops, your parties? Are you in the right spot? Hey, Camilla. Oh, it's so good to have you here. I wish that I could see your beautiful face from Rio. Yes, we are a global happening all over the planet, people sharing movement, healing, hooping. It's not always easy though, and that's why I share these kinds of workshops to sprinkle inspiration, because there is a lot of work and energy and time that goes into even just creating a simple playlist. And I have hundreds and hundreds of playlists, and I will share them with you at the end. Actually, I'll send out like a recording link, and then I'll share all of my playlists with you. But this workshop is all about how to create them for yourself really quickly, saving time. Because if you're teaching multiple classes, or even if you're creating hoop jams or parties, you're going to be spending lots of time crafting the music. So this is about how to do that quickly. Yes, so Carla says, I want to be a hoop love coach that is guided by music and not the clock. This is a key point, and I'm going to sprinkle this in several times, but my music is my clock. but we're going to talk about that. So it's like it's this cue in the back, rather than you running to check your phone or looking up on the wall to get distracted. You have your playlist as this thread behind you that says, hey, we're up to the part where we learn the tricks, or hey, it's almost time to do a cool down. So great that you're in it to learn little bits and pieces like that. Okay, if you don't know who I am Deanne Love. Hello, big love to everyone around the planet who is hooping for themselves, hooping to share joy, healing, creativity. I'm sure that we have connected in so many different ways, and I wish that I could just reach out and give you a big hug, my loves. Thank you so much for always showing up. Honestly, especially still now, after so much that has happened in the planet and how we have been isolated and not able to share in many parts of the world, but now we're here and we're showing up in the best way that we can. Thank you. Judith says music helps with flow and learning. For me, music makes learning less stressful. Yes, it helps me to create rhythm in movement. Absolutely. Camilla says, use music as a clock. It works. It does work. I want to share just a little story that popped into my mind. I was watching this incredible documentary last night about Australian beautiful humans who are searching for jobs, but they are on the autism spectrum. So it's quite challenging for all of us. There are many challenges in life, but for these particular humans, there was this one woman who has Tourette's, and so it's very challenging for her to show up to job interviews, to even hold down a job because her tics are so extreme. And it was a beautiful story. Her mum was there to support her, but the one way that she could calm her nervous system and come into center, and also bring her tics and her Tourette's down, was through music. Calming, soothing, gentle music. And then she was also picking up a guitar. And this whole time while she was playing the guitar, and for some people it could be playing the piano or moving with a hoop or playing with poi or whatever it is, she was able to again ground herself, center her nervous system, and the tics were not present. And they were quite extreme Tourette's tics. And so it was, I was watching this last night before doing this workshop, and I was like, music is such a healer and a key and a bringer into the present moment. And so it is vital that we have these beautifully crafted playlists. But it takes time and it takes energy. And so let's have a look at how we can sort that out. Hi from Switzerland and Nova Scotia. Tiffany, as a musician, this is one of my favorite things about Hoop Class, and I also make a unique playlist for each of my classes. I love doing music-related themes, and I'm happy to share playlists with you too. Thank you. Okay, let's collaborate. Let's connect. We're here together. Thank you for that. All right, so who am I to share this? Like, I'm, just some wild hoop teacher. I have been, just like Tiffany, just like many of you, creating unique playlists for every single one of these events. So I've taught countless workshops in cities all around the planet. I've done hundreds of YouTubes. I've taught all these courses online. I can't hold it back. I've trained teachers. I've taught classes in Tokyo and Melbourne in person, shared weekly classes on Zoom now as the world has changed, developed children's programs. That's a lot of playlist creating. That's a lot of music that's come through. And so I'm going to share with you some of my not so secret secrets about how to do this quite quickly, but not skipping, not rushing and just making any old playlist, because that won't do. Because if you have ever created a playlist that you're not familiar with or you're not super in sync with, and then you show up to a class and you start playing this music in the background and it's annoying you and irritating you and you're not familiar with it, it's going to put your whole entire class off. Has anyone else ever? I've done that. I've definitely made that mistake where I'm like, oh, I'll just grab any random music and it should be fine. And then I get into class and I'm trying to be really present and connected with my students. Yes, Bree. Yes, I've done that. I've done it. It's not okay. It can really put you off. And especially if you're someone who is using music as a background and you know the potency and the power, if it's putting you off, it's putting your students off. And this, again, even if you're not using this in your teaching, it might be just your practice. Has anyone made a playlist or just had music playing in the background while they're doing anything? Could be while you're cooking, cleaning, or it could be while you're trying to practice and play with a hoop or a movement, dance, yoga, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, that's annoying me. It's like really irritating. So this is why it's really important. A flowing playlist is an absolute must for every hoop happening. I honestly can't stress that. And everyone has their own style, and everyone is going to feel music in a different way. But if you find your time spending hours and hours crafting and obsessing over the perfect playlist, or you're always looking for new songs, or worse, and I wrote this down, playing the same song over and over again, and you're in need of fresh tunes. Now, there is one time when you will have to play a song over and over again, and that's kind of two times. If you are crafting a performance and it's to one song, obviously you're going to know that song inside out. Or if you teach choreography in a class, you will need to play that song over and over again. So it's not a bad thing to play the song over and over again. But if you have these same songs on repeat and they're irritating you and annoying you, you need fresh tunes. So let's get into it. We're going to look at how to craft playlists to set the tone. And Camilla, a few of you amazing humans have said that you already use your playlist to set the vibe, to set the tone. So those playlists to guide movement, to mark time. This has been like my greatest support when you're a teacher jumping in and you're just there alone with all of your beautiful students. Of course, these playlists can be your friend. They're helping you, they're guiding you. They also, this is really, really important, they create a safe container. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, the do's and don'ts of the types of music that you will want to share, but they create safety. Going back to that story about the woman who had Tourette's, the music creates safety in her nervous system. It gives her some downtime and some calm and some moments to just feel really grounded. And so if you think about that, it's also doing that for our students. When your students come to a class, a party, a workshop, often they are very nervous. When we as teachers show up to a class, a party, a workshop, we are often nervous. And so having this support of these playlists that you have crafted, and this also applies to your own practice time. Oftentimes when we turn up to our hoop practice or our yoga practice, we are nervous in a different way. Perhaps we're rattled by something, definitely world events, things going on around us, relationships. We are nervous. In that, our nervous system is often unsettled. So when we have these playlists that create this container of safety, it's like a big, deep, beautiful, soothing breath. Something to always think about. Tips for saving time. Hey, we are so busy. We're always busy trying to fit everything in. So we don't want these playlists to take us hours and hours every day or every time. We need to be quick. I'm going to show you some of my tips for endless inspiration and also things to avoid. This is often why I share these workshops, because, and definitely the Hoop Love Coach training, anything that I share online is like, hey, I have done it the hard way. I've definitely done it the hard way. I've definitely been up at night crying and stressing and wondering how I'm going to get through this. It doesn't always come easy, but when I find something that works, I want to share it with you. And you are going to modify it to how it works for you. And how to stay organized. It might look like I'm in this neat, clean. I am not an organized person. So I need tools to organize these things so that it's not stressful and chaotic and cluttered. Thanks, Julia. Love the way that you explained that. All right. So staying organized. I started with this tip because it's like anything, like it's kind of like the drawers behind me, right? If I have the drawers and the folders all neat, then I know that goes in there and that goes in there and that goes in there. So when I'm in time of stress or rush, then I know exactly where to look. So I want you to think about the music player that you most prefer, and it doesn't matter what you choose. It doesn't matter what your music player is. Mine for many years has been Spotify, but you need to choose a music player that is suitable for you, that is affordable for you, that makes sense to your brain when you look at how it's all laid out. So choose one and stick to it unless it annoys you and doesn't work for you and isn't compatible for you. Then you're going to create folders. And I'm not sure if you can see this. Hopefully you can see the screen. I have taken a screenshot of my exact folders. So I have warm-ups, song ideas, and you can choose any names that work for you. This is just the drawers that we're going to put things in so that you can pull out stuff and put together your playlist at any time. And you're going to constantly dump music into these drawers. Every time you hear it, every time someone shares something with you, dump it into your drawers or your music folders. Does that make sense? So best tip to stay organized is to have the music player that you love or that you're using or that you pay for or whatever it is that is suitable for you. Create the folders. I've got beginner hoop flow, cool down songs, ecstatic flow, which to me means kind of like world music and beautiful songs that have got some beats, but also some flow and rhythm. Smooth soul flow for me just means it's really chill and relaxed. And then I've got like disco vibes and my living. So these folder names need to make sense to you too. Like my living 2000 and living my 2003 dreams probably doesn't make sense to anyone else, but to me, that means they're the beats. They're like the cool beats that I love. And so that's probably more amplified. You can use whatever names you want. So you're going to continuously dump music into these folders so that you have unlimited music choice and that's easy. So step number 1, get yourself organized. Really important. Okay, how to have unlimited music. We need to listen and connect. Music is all around you. I'm constantly listening to music on the radio. So I'm super lucky because one of the best things about living where I do in Australia is that we have this local radio station that is on, you can put on in the car. I don't listen to the radio anywhere else because the frequency is a little bit intense, but this local radio station is called Radio Metro. It has been here since the 90s, like back when I lived in this area when I was in my 20s, and it has really cool beats on this. It's not like a mainstream radio station. It's not like easy listening, and I'm forever, Bree's like, yeah, Radio Metro. I'm forever collecting songs from that radio station, only that radio station. So I want you to think about where you hear songs that you're like, oh, that's kind of cool for my hoop class or my practice, or that's amazing. You know Radio Metro. Yes, since 1996. It's amazing. I love Radio Metro. It's like one of the reasons why I don't move away from this area. You can see how obsessed I am with music. But where do you hear songs in your area? It might not be the radio, but maybe it's in shops, in restaurants, in clubs, on social media. I have had the app Shazam, and you might use a different app. It's a music listening, and you can see the screenshot here. And now it's like synced up with Apple Music. I don't use Apple Music, but that does not matter. I just want to know wherever I am, and I might be in the dressing room of a shop. I might be like, sometimes it's like someone's playing something online and I am Shazamming because I will not remember that song. Like, I don't have time to keep that kind of information in my brain. But what I do have, and again, you can see it online here, I've taken a screenshot. Yes, Mindy's like, I'm constantly collecting music from anywhere and everywhere. This will save you so much time, because when you, like, if you're like me and the night before your class, you're rushing in to change your playlist and make sure, Shazam is going to save you. Because what happens is it's like another little music folder for you if you don't already know it. And if you do, I'm just repeating that it's amazing. Or a similar app. Does anyone else use a different app you can share with us that's like Shazam? I don't know anything else because I just stick with what works for me, and you have to stick with what works for you. Mindy says, I'm constantly collecting music, and Brie is saying I use Shazam all the time, especially when I'm watching an amazing movie. Yes, I will pause a movie and be like, what is that song? I need that song. And Carla says, a fellow, this is amazing too. So a fellow teacher and friend share music all the time. SoundHound. Look it up if Shazam is not for you. SoundHound. Thank you, Jennifer. So we're always listening, we're always collecting, but it doesn't have to take a long time. Like, I'm literally like walking through somewhere. What's that song? Got it. Save it for later. Download it on Shazam, SoundHound, whatever works for you on your phone. Reach out to other people, ask them what kind of music listening app that they use for collection. Collect the music and then dump it into your folders. I do it a few times a week. I usually do it, so I'm going to I look up Shazam, and again, because I don't use Apple Music, it doesn't sync with my Spotify, it doesn't matter. I just look up the name on Spotify, I listen, oh yeah, that's that cool song that I heard this week, and I dump it in my folder. So we have endless inspiration coming through. So one of the other things that I love about using Spotify, I'm not sponsored by Spotify, but I do pay for it. It's one of the subscriptions that I do pay for because it helps me so much in my classes. So I'm totally fine to pay that every month because it gives me endless music to, even when I'm at home working, it gives me a whole range of music. And one of the things that I love about Spotify, and please let me know if other music players have this, is that when I start to create a playlist, at the bottom, so Jennifer says, I also like the Spotify weekly discover or discover weekly, because new songs are coming through and you can just put them on and have a listen while you're doing your other things. Like, you don't have to sit. But at the bottom of the playlist, it then has this, I've taken a screenshot for you, recommended based on this playlist. So it will show up similar songs. And some of them are great and some of them are not, but it's an easy way to bring in or to dump in some other songs. So you can also search on YouTube. YouTube has amazing song playlists, and sometimes they will, on SoundCloud or YouTube, they'll have these long DJ sets. And I don't need a 3-hour set for a 1-hour class, but sometimes I hear a track in there and I'll Shazam it. And I'm like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because if it's a DJ mix, it might get all confused. And Shazam is like, I don't understand that. So sometimes it doesn't work, but it's very rare that it doesn't work. We'll actually pick up that track and then I can go into Spotify and be like, oh, what's that track? Have a little listen and see if it's appropriate. We're coming up to what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So yeah, searching on YouTube, sometimes if there's a certain vibe that you love, maybe it's like, I don't know, Ibiza tribal beats or some, whatever is your vibe. You can search for that on YouTube and you can get these long tracks that DJ mixes. And same with SoundCloud. SoundCloud is amazing for that. And even Pinterest. I don't know if any of you are on Pinterest. So you're continuously collecting music and you're dumping them back in those folders, dumping for later on when you really are in a bit of a pickle with time. You're like, I've got it. I've got so much music on hand. Okay, so here's what to avoid. And this might be really this might already be really intuitive for you, and you might know what is really irritating or what is upsetting or what is too intense for you as a hooper or as a mover. So that's going to apply to your students as well. Any songs that have major sirens or shocks or screaming that come through, make sure that you know your playlist before, because as a trauma-informed, as someone who wants to create a safe container for your students, those sounds can be really triggering. And I know there are some really cool like party anthems that have like sirens and shock, or like a kind of brr, like this kind of wild, cool sound. But they can be triggering to a lot of our students, and we don't really know that. And if we're working towards creating a safe container, we want to delete anything that's too jarring or extreme. And there is some incredible music styles that actually have that really staccato-like energy to them, but they can, if they're turned up, or if they are kind of this surround sound, they can be triggering for people. So just avoid that. Avoid any kind of swearing or anything offensive in any kind of way. That can be a challenge, but it's actually not impossible at all. I feel like of the thousands of hours of music that I have dumped into my folders, I don't feel, I mean, there may be, but very rarely is there anything that's swearing, offensive, derogatory, racist in any kind of way, any words that are not acceptable, because your students are a diverse group of beautiful humans that deserve to be in a safe space. So delete any of that stuff. It might be part of your music listening or stuff that you like in your own time, but remember, you have a community that deserves the best. I have to be careful as I work with kids, but there are often clean versions. You can search for clean after the song. Yes. And music players these days will usually put like an E or something that says that it's explicit or that there is inappropriate language. It can be challenging with children. And I do have some kids playlists, and work creating the little circles. It can be tricky because the song might not have swearing, but it may have over-sexualized or like language that, or stories or threads within the music or the lyrics that are just not appropriate, and that I don't want playing it with anyone. Like it's not something that I kind of want to share anywhere. So yeah, if you're a kids hoop teacher or a kids teacher, or just have kids, and the thing is, like, kids will always ask, like, can you play this song, can you play this song? And you have to know your music, because sometimes if you just put on any random song in a class with kids, you're like, uh-oh, I shouldn't have said yes to that. So it's good to kind of, particularly if you're working with children, know the current pop songs, which can be tricky. Another thing to avoid is like fluctuations in sound. So we'll get on to like getting prepared with your playlist, but if you're just like picking music from anywhere, this can happen a little bit more on like SoundCloud or some of the older players. You don't want to be fussing with your playlist at all. Remember, your playlist is something that is guiding you. It's there. And if you're like, oh, whoops, that's a bit loud, put it down, put it up, because of the actual sound fluctuations, you want something that is not going to distract you or your class. Now, of course, you're going to teach in your own style, and there are times when you're going to turn that music down and times when you're going to turn that music up. And some people have remotes, some people don't. Some people have to physically, teachers have to walk over, but if you have a playlist that you know, like, oh, this song's probably going to be background music, you'll know, oh, it's time for me to turn things down because I'm teaching, I'm speaking, I don't want to have to yell over. And then other times, these are my like play times tracks, they're turned up because I'm going and speaking one-on-one with students. You're going to craft a playlist that works with your teaching style. So that's what not to avoid. What to include: music that suits the energy and tone that you're wanting to create. So if this is a workshop at a Brazilian retreat that you high vibes and you're teaching this cool choreography, that's the kind of playlist that you're going to craft. If it is a non-linear class, for me, I've been sharing a lot of non-linear. It's very much about nervous system soothing, regulation, balance. There's not going to be any wild party beats. It is going to be a very soothing journey where we start off super gentle. But perhaps you're teaching a hoop fitness class, so your first track is pumping up the jams, yes, getting the blood flowing, the heart rate, the heat and the energy in the body. That's going to be your first song. So it's very much about the energy and tone of what you are specifically creating. You already know that, right? You want to include music that suits the audience and the students. We just spoke about that. And if you don't know, if you're really new to it, you can ask. You can get a vibe. You'll start to know. You'll start to learn. Carla says, "Is it okay then to stop and start the music as needed for when I'm speaking?" Yes. So you're going to be in a whole bunch of different situations. Sometimes you'll have a head mic and you're speaking with the music. Other times you won't. And there's nothing worse than having your students not be able to hear you because the music is drowning you out. So if you have created the playlist and you're familiar with your plan and they're in sync, there are going to be times when you completely stop the music because you can get distracted because the music is going, you're like, oh, no, that's that song that I wanted for playtime. So of course, your plan and your playlist will be in sync, and sometimes you need to stop. Like, for example, when I teach a kids class and I come in, there's some music as I'm like gaining their attention, but when it's time to stop, look and listen, and everyone is seated and we're speaking about the plan of the workshop and safety in the class, there's no music at all for me because it's a very focused point. There are times in an adult class where, let's say, something really important comes up and everyone's really confused by something. So they're like, this is just not working. I stop the music. And it's okay to bring focus to something because you're noticing that everyone needs a little bit of explanation about isolations or something like that. So it's less about needing to stop the music or change the volume of the music and then being distracted by it. Like, there's been times when I've been in a class and the teacher is so like preoccupied by this. No, it's there as a guide and a support and a friend. So, but you will know that music that, so creating an ebb and flow that guides your class and your party and your workshop. And each of those will be completely different. So creating, this is how I'm going to share my really quick way of actually creating it. So I create a dedicated playlist for the event or the class and I give it a title. So I land that playlist. So it is Week 1 beginner hoop class, or it is Hoop Rio retreat, or it is Australian Hoop Convention choreography workshop. Land it, give it a title, or it could be daily hoop practice or morning workout. Land it. That's the first thing for me. Create that folder. It's really, really important because we're going to play within that folder and we're going to draw all of the music inspiration that we have been collecting. So know your class flow. And this is kind of maybe what Carla was alluding to as well. Is it a class? Is it fitness? Is it a party? Like, what is it? Know it really well. And so for me, if it was a class that I'm teaching to, let's say, adults, I would have a warm-up. I would have a time where I have skill set. I'm teaching you skills. I'm teaching you how to do weaves or isolations or whatever I've chosen for that part of your class. Then I will have playtime, and then I will have a cool down. Now, because I know that plan, I now know my playlist plan. I'm going to select warm-up tracks, and I know that I want an on-body warm-up, and so I'm going to select 1 or 2 tracks for the time of warm-up. And then I know that I want to teach you skills, but the music's probably going to be quite low, so I don't want anything too distracting. But I do want songs that if I have to turn up the music so that I can go around and teach or do one-on-one, that the music is still there. Then I'm going to have playtime, which I often like in playtime to put music that I'm super loving, that I think would be super suitable for like amazing flow. And it brings me endless joy when students are like, whoa, what's that song? I love it. So that's my goal, to be like, yeah, have an epic playlist. And then cool down tracks, something that we can bring the energy of the class. We come back together as a group. So I start molding the structure in that folder. I've got the title, I know my flow, and now I'm pulling in music to mold it. So we talked about the timing too. I'm going to go back to Julia in a moment because I feel like it's the conflicting personalities. So I'm going to come back to that because it's cool. We've got some time for questions in a moment. So timing, your playlist acts as your timer for your class or your event. What does that mean? It means that, for example, I know that my class, my adult class on a Wednesday night is 1 hour long. So my playlist is going to be about 1 hour long, but I do add a little bit more because you can always end the class and skip forward to your cool down tracks. You can always, unless you want it to be super tight or you don't have access to the music player at all, that's a real challenge. You've got to make sure that you're super in sync with your playlist. Or for example, my non-linear classes, if you've come to a non-linear class, I don't skip tracks at all. That playlist guides our entire class. So I get really familiar with it. We are having our warm-up gentle coming into a track. There's a peak at about the 45-minute mark, and then we start to come down into rest and integration. And that is exactly 1 hour. I tack one song onto the beginning because people are coming into Zoom. This is if you're teaching on Zoom. People are coming in, it's really chill, they're preparing, and then my beginning track starts the class. So I choose and I order song lengths accordingly. Now, that could be a little bit tricky, but your music player should show you like this is a 5-minute track. So, okay, I'm going to do 5-minute waist hooping as my warm up. And then I've got like another 5 or 6 minute track. I'm going to put that second because that will be, we're going to do an off body warm up. And then we are warmed up and ready for skills. Does that make sense? So because I know the timing of my class, my warm-up tracks, I'll have about 10 minutes, maybe 11, maybe 12. My skill tracks, like where I'm teaching you the actual hoop tricks, I'll have about 25 minutes. And the play time, I'll have about 15 minutes, so maybe 5. But sometimes the songs are like longer, like they're like a 10-minute track. So I might have a 10-minute track and a 5-minute track, and then the cool down is 10 minutes, maybe, sometimes 5, depends, because it's your decision, because you know what you're teaching. Yes, so being prepared. I am simultaneously creating my class plan or my event plan beside my playlist. They are both. Camilla's like, oh my heart. So these pictures, if you're looking at the pictures, these are from Rio, from Brazil, the last retreat that I ever taught. And before the planet went like, no, you can't travel yet, but I think I'm allowed to travel again soon. So it's good. Yes, so much love for these pictures. Look at all of those beautiful, amazing, gorgeous humans. Oh, this is why we do what we do. Being prepared. So always listen to your playlist. And I put in brackets there, memorize. I don't mean that you have to memorize if you're teaching multiple classes, but I memorize just by kind of going over my playlist. When I'm cooking dinner, I have it playing in the background. I get to know my playlist so that it's not like, oh, what songs? I'm not distracted by it. I feel the ebb and flow of the class. I can see myself teaching the warm up to those tracks, the skills to those tracks. You get it. And I use my playlist to prepare my class, because then it becomes my timer. Then it becomes setting the tone. I also use my playlist to boost my confidence and connection. Like, I know my music. I know this music is going to help guide me as a teacher. Like, I set my playlist so I know when that track comes on, yeah, it's time for us to teach this, or it's time for us to have a groove with this, or it's time for me to really invite my students to become embodied, expressive, start creating shapes. So my playlist really helped my confidence. Like, if I've ever turned up to, and here's a side tip, make sure that wherever you're teaching, if you're not in charge of your own music player and stereo, that you know that you can play music. There have been times where I've turned up and they're like, oh, sorry, I don't think we can plug that in or get that to work. Oh no. I need that music. And for me, I need that head mic. So be prepared ahead of time. And also use your playlist anytime you need a break. That music is there to support you. There are times when you're going to need to turn that music up or give some guidance, like for the next 5 minutes. You can be practicing the weaves that I've just taught you. I'm going to go around one. If you're feeling overwhelmed as a teacher, if you're feeling like your energy is low, that playlist is there. You can turn it up. You can go bounce one-on-one, have a drink of water, and you're not disrupting the flow of the class. So anytime that you or your students need extra time, support, space, play, your playlist is there. You can stop talking. You can take a breath, recalibrate, come back into yourself and your body while the music's playing, supporting, guiding you and your students. And then you can step back into the role of facilitation and instruction. Okay, questions, bring them at me. I noticed that Julia said, I struggle with my conflicting personalities. I like to do burlesque, but I have to separate my kids' coach from that adult performer and coach with music. Yes, multiple personalities. This is a thing. So if we were just teaching one style all of the time, you're like, okay, I'm a burlesque teacher and performer, and so all of your music is going to be really tailored towards that energy. But often we put on multiple hats, and on the weekends we do kids parties, and on weeknights we are a burlesque performer. And so that's where getting organized with and like separating. Maybe you're getting organized with your playlist, you're probably getting organized with your costumes, you're probably getting organized with your energy and the persona that you have to put on to be the kids entertainer versus the burlesque performer. Yeah, it's definitely a real thing. Every Monday I connect with Haley Hoopler, who is a good friend of mine and the co-creator of Little Circles, our kids teacher training, and we talk about this all the time. And she she has like downstairs in her house is like this, it looks like a circus and wonderland, and then upstairs is very like it's her, the mature fashionista. And it's like we live these very different lives. Yeah, I love the sexy explicit tracks, definitely, same. And I watch Haley do this too, and it's like her tracks for she's got an upcoming burlesque performance, but also just her and her partner is a rapper, and they've got these wild creative lifestyles and this really sexy, like tapped in music. But also she is a circus performer for children. And none of that can cross over. So yes, loving those sexy tracks. And when you get to know, this is not children, so let's leave children out of the equation, but for this moment, when you get to know your students, like in the beginning, I often don't pour in, unless of course it's a burlesque class, or unless of course it's like a sensuality class, but if we're talking just beginners hoop class, not just, if we are talking amazing, incredible beginners hoop class, new relationship between teachers, students, hoops, everything, body, I tend to bring in cool beats and fun, playful energy. And I don't always pour in the real sexy, sassy, because I don't know yet if that is a safe space for everyone in a beginner's hoop class. So just kind of get to know and build that relationship and open up those channels. Other questions? We are such dynamic people. We are. We can't just pour it all into one. And the playlist folders is kind of like, oh, these are all my styles and personalities. I have a lot. Camilla, do you think people's usual taste of music, or you think about your inputs to the class and personal? So like, am I thinking about the student, or am I thinking about me? Do you select types of music you wouldn't listen to alone? I do more and more now. I used to spend a lot of time like looking kind of, I want to say like top 40 remixes, but I tend now to steer away from them. Like sometimes I will put in like what is really contemporary, current, like on the charts type music. But now I tend to want to bring in a more diverse range of tunes, and they don't always actually have lyrics. So sometimes they were, and sometimes I'll pour in a bit of Beyonce, and I'll pour, of course we pour in, bye Brie, you've got to run. I'm so grateful for, yes, thank you so much. It's reignited your creative passion. A Spotify overhaul, I actually highly recommend it. Like it will make you feel so just like, wow, I've cleaned out my cupboards. I know. do it. And I'm going to share with you all of my Spotify stuff. So you can steal. It's not steal, it's sharing. You can just pluck, just listen, put on the, like some of them have like 22, like one folder has like 22 hours of music. That's like, you have to listen for you don't have to listen for the whole day. Just have it in the background. Just make it kind of like a practice. It's there. You pull it out. You just put it into yours. You're like, oh, I like that. Oh yeah. I'd move with, oh, what's that sound? What's that music? Bring it in. Because if you're loving it, then your students are probably going to love it as well. Unless it's like extreme hardcore something. So I go to 5 Rhythms on a Friday night, but obviously 5 Rhythms is a wave. If you don't know 5 Rhythms, we dance in a wave. It's a guided ecstatic dance. So we start off flowing, and then we move into staccato, and then we move into chaos. And I love chaos, but I can't really use those chaos tracks in hooping because it's just too much. Like it's full hardcore psytrance, like, but it's just for a moment. And I make a joke and I say, I go to 5 Rhythms for the raving. It's like I can only rave for 10 minutes a week these days. But I don't know if those tracks would ever work in a hoop class. So there are some tracks that you might love, but you know the vibe. It's about setting the tone, not distraction. Do lyrics get in the way, especially during skill instruction? Yeah, sometimes. And this is why, again, I'll share all of my playlists with you. I, over the years, have tended to move away from, let's say, standard pop songs, even though they're cool, like they're crafted specifically for us to love, know, move, feel familiar, elicit emotions, human emotions. Like they craft them for that way. I have tended to steer away from them over the years because I'm kind of creating this space for movement rather than like a sing-along. But that doesn't mean you can't use them. If you love them, you put them in. They're great. Like all the single ladies or whatever, I'm trying to, I don't know why Beyonce keeps coming into this, but she's there. People love them. They know them. If I am doing kind of general, let's say a party, let's say like birthday, wedding related type stuff, People love those songs. Think like wedding DJ. There's nothing wrong with having them. They're also really fun songs to have if you're doing a quick little choreography or flow. So Carla says, me too. I'm so pumped right now. I'm planning 2 workshops in August for foster families, and I want really nourishing, uplifting, celebratory tracks. They will be landing in your inbox. Do you match specific music to specific moves, like a specific groove for, let's say, shoulder hooping? Yes. I actually have, So get to know. A way that you can test that too is like if you're hooping with friends, you can, if you're hooping alone, okay, let's say hooping, I often hoop alone. What moves you? Like what kind of tracks do you like to, that this is one way you can do it, move to when you are shoulder hooping? What gives you a groove? Now, for me, my learning progress of shoulder hooping was I was, pumping it out to all these like wild electronic music disco tracks. But when I shifted up my music and I changed to like, I think it was like Scissor Sisters, this was a long time ago, 15 years ago, but something a little bit more like down tempo, kind of movie groovy, it somehow unlocked a new rhythm. So it's okay to try different rhythms and tempos. I hope that answers. But yeah, the question was a specific groove, let's say shoulder hooping, to a style of music. Yes. Now, something that I often do as well is like I'll use a really upbeat track that has like quite a high energy to warm up the body and get, say, like the rib cage or chest, shoulders, neck warm and loose, and then go down a little into like more of a rhythmic track and see if that helps people with, particularly with their on body. And then if they're, say you're doing weaves or you're looking for a certain beat or a tempo, a count, there'll be music that just all breaks, on body breaks. You're like, try it out. So you're like, oh, can I break to this rhythm? Because sometimes I find like a drumming beat and I'm like, wow, this sounds great for on body breaks. But then when I try it, I feel a little bit clunky. So you can try it out. Nora says, do you match specific? Oh, wait, that's the same one. Other questions? I know that some of you are here to ask me questions about hoop teaching or specifically the Hoop Love Coach training that is coming up. And we do have a little bit of time. We have about 5 minutes left. So if there's other questions that are coming through, I would love to hear from you. Some of the big things that come up when I am sharing Hoop Love Coach training, and some of you have already done it, and so you know these big elements come up. The 2 things are like, am I good enough? I don't think I'm good enough. I can't teach. How can I teach? A story that I share over and over again is that when I started teaching, I had hardly any tricks in my bag, none. But what I did have was this passion, like I needed to share this joy. I needed to share this love that I was feeling, this healing. And so one of the things that I often say is you are enough right now. You don't need to have 1,000 tricks. You don't even need to have 100. In the second module of Hoop Love Coach training, we go through 100 tricks. I share with you how to teach them, how to learn them, how to break them down. But you don't need to know that. Honestly, you could, if you are starting to teach or if you're working your way into like building your teaching, you could go and teach your neighbors, your friends in the backyard with like 5 tricks. It's not about that. It's about really owning that you are enough and that you do have the support. Right here now, even just on this workshop, there are hoop teachers all around the planet that are so willing to support you, to love you, to guide you in so many different ways. They're here. We're cheering each other on. Other questions? I'm open. Yes. Camilla says, become a Hoop Love Coach. Let's make it a bigger family. Highly recommended. Recommended with a love heart. Again, I'm just going to keep speaking. If other questions are coming through, again, about playlist or about hoop teaching, about Hoop Love Coach training, we are here. I am here. The Hoop Love Coach training is an online training. Again, community support. You can stream and download anytime you like, so you can learn at your own pace. You can learn from an expert. Me. Wait, Scratch that, many experts around the world who are trying, continuing, supporting, sharing, showing up as hoop teachers. And you get to learn at your own pace. Tiffany says, how can I create this community of flow here in a small town where there isn't a flow community already established? Yes, this is a really common thing for a lot of us. And it's definitely my story in many of the cities that I have moved to. Creating a community, just like anything, like creating friendships, is really about showing up. It's really about cultivating and creating a space where that can happen, whatever you are sharing. And if it's particularly hooping, my journey, and other hoop teachers and other hoop love coaches can definitely share their journey. But my journey was that I was hooping completely alone, And I would go, this is way out of my comfort zone, by the way. I'm quite an introverted person, but I would go to a park. I was living in Tokyo, Japan. I would go to a park with hoops and a speaker, and I would invite people. I wasn't even teaching yet as a hoop teacher. I didn't even know that was really a vision. But I would take the hoops and ask people to come hoop with me. And sometimes they would, and sometimes they wouldn't. And then from there, so it's a progression. From there, I planned and prepared a hoop class, again in Tokyo, Japan. I invited some of my co-workers in a job that I was working at the time. And from there, I was like, oh, I'll do a workshop. And from there, I was like, oh, I'll do a teacher training. And from there, so it's a constant getting inspiration, bringing it back. Sometimes it works and you're like, wow, so many people turned up. And sometimes it doesn't. And you have to be like, how can I communicate this better? How can I market this differently? Who can I reach out to for help? It's an ongoing, beautiful, incredible process. Mindy says, I'll definitely be joining this time. Last time the Hoop Love Coach training was offered, I nearly joined, but I doubted myself and I didn't do it. That's okay. Welcome this time. That's why I continuously do it. Like if I just shared it once, like we're not ready. We all have different timelines. And I have been doing this for 15 years. I mean, hooping, actually this month, July, 15 years, and teaching for 10, and it's constant. So for Mindy, Tiffany, everyone. And we have, just like anything, just like the hoop class, we have big drops and big troughs and valleys, and it's okay when the timing's right. Carla says, thank you so much. Right on time. Thank you. I know I read your email yesterday and it's like lots is coming up for you. Congratulations. Julia, I've been a Hoop Love Coach training for a while and just haven't completed the modules. Is it possible to get involved? Yes. So that's the other thing. It's like this ongoing. If you haven't completed the training, you don't get locked out. I'm not like, sorry, time's up. Come back time and time again. I go back time and time again to any training that I do as a student. I need to. We can't just absorb it all at once. Come back. Yes. Reach out to me. Send me a little email. Camilla, we were just a few in Rio. Yes, this is true. Now, Camilla and I have been creating and working together on opposite sides of the planet. Brazil, Australia. My geography. Whew. Anyway, far away. I flew to Brazil 2 or 3 years ago. Longest flight of my life ever on a plane. Whew. It was a lot. It was the best, most amazing experience of my life to connect with this incredibly loving, supportive, and growing community on the other side of the planet that started. Camilla, like you and a hoop, over the years, we've connected online, on Zooms, on like, how's it going? What's going on telephones to grow this community. It's taken passion, I'm going to say sweat, love, tears, ups, downs, pandemics, global happenings, the hugest things. But Camilla keeps showing up. And yes, so those pictures that you saw, they were from the Brazil Hoop Convention. I've been to the US where it's like the Mecca, the huge gatherings of hoopers, but Brazil just blew my mind. And it was a tiny seed planted and has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. Yeah, hundreds of hoopers. And I know, Camilla, it's like, just keep hooping. And I wish that there was it's like we say to our students, we're like, you'll get it. Just keep practicing. Like, honestly, like it can seem like there's these blocks and like it's never going to happen, but it does. But it's from the constant movement and love and tending. It's like a beautiful garden. We plant the seeds, and then sometimes the garden's a mess and it's gone wild. And we're like, what are we going to do? And then we have friends that come over and help us with the garden. And then we tend to it together. So yes, it's continuously playing in the garden of hooping and sharing and finding the courage. And I always say that confidence, like, it's like, where am I going to get this confidence from? I feel it a lot. And it's courage on repeat. It's doing a little thing and showing up, and then doing another little thing. And so we're just repeating. We're adding seeds. We're tending to the garden. We're pulling out the weeds. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Thanks, Julia, Judith. So much love. Now, yes, if you want to connect with these incredible humans that are here, right here and now, definitely reach out. You can, in the chat box, send a little Instagram link. It's very much about connecting with community, not just listening to me or showing up to these workshops, but reaching out to each other. Courage on repeat, Minty. Yes. Hoop Love Coach training, Judith, for me was life-changing. I figured out my brand. I got organized and disciplined and gained confidence. It allowed me to bring hooping and help to those who would not be able to afford to learn. I lend hoops or donate. This is why we do what we do. This is why we constantly show up. We are rewarded in many ways, many ways. Courage on repeat. Sometimes that courage, we have to dig from the depths, from the absolute depths of our soul, of our world, of our intensity, of our trauma, but we keep showing up when we can. And we're supported to do that. Kathy, thanks for this help and support. I did a Hoop Love Coach training last year with many family issues, and I've had to scale back. Yes, thank you for acknowledging that and sharing that. It's really important. But always keep coming back to your offerings and hooping. Keep playing, keep growing. Stay well. You too. Thank you. Yes, I hope that you know that we show up in the capacity that we can. And that's not the same all of the time. It's not 100% fabulous. Wow, look at me. I have everything. I'm so, no. No, I should do a workshop on not always the happy, brightest, most confident side of hooping. I hope that I share that too and let you know that it's not just rainbows and sunshine. Nothing in this world, nothing, not even this magical hooping, not even this beautiful community is always that rainbows and sunshine. But that's not what we're presenting. We're presenting this mode of healing and help and support together. So thank you. Thank you for presencing that. It's really, really important. Nora, thank you so much. Camilla, you can find Brazil Hooping at Hoop Rio. Highly recommend. I love you. I love you, Camilla. I love you, Kathy, Carla, Nora, Judith, Mindy, all of the humans on this. And if you're watching this, Sarah, I hope I haven't missed anyone, Tiffany. If you are watching this as a recording, reach out to me. If you're watching this live right now, I love you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. If you have any other questions, you can jump into my inbox. You can message me on Instagram, Hey, Brooke, thank you. Big love. You can email me if you like about any questions that are coming up for you. Please let me know. If you're joining me for Hoop Love Coach training, if you haven't done it already, or if it's something that is for you and you've got questions or concerns or stress or worry, or reach out. We've still got a couple of days before we start. Big love and thank you. I am going to email you my playlist, by the way, because they'll get lost in this little chat box here. So I'll email you. Good luck with that beautiful, it's flow. It's honestly flow. Like cleaning up your playlist and just creating a few little folders. And you don't have to have as many as mine, but it's beautiful flow. Enjoy, get your favorite like yummy food, make a beautiful smoothie or coffee or wine or whatever it is that you love, and play. I love you deeply for showing up and sharing and caring so deeply about this beautiful art form and your community and yourself and your body and this planet. And I love you. Big love. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the love hearts. And I will see you soon. Soon, I hope. Let's make it happen. Bye, everyone.